course, the other side of the wall is largely pen and ink. Did he have a particular preference for either one, or did it strike him as he saw objects that fascinated him? You know, we've got everything from tool sheds to church steeples here. So, you know, there's a broad spectrum of objects that he found fascinating for his work. Did anything particular ignite his passion about, you know, wanting to put it to paper that you all remember?
I think he liked doing both, and I think my sense was that he did both more or less simultaneously. He wasn't into one and the other. And one of the things I pointed out to Peter was that Dad was one of those many males who was partially colorblind, and he painted. It's a secret.
Well, he said it's hard to believe.
He limited his palate.
Yeah, limited his palate. Well, I think, you know, there are a number of things that are interesting about this, and you can see all kinds of inspirations. Did he ever quote any, or not quote, but did he ever allude to any other artists that whose work you looked at that, you know, you would recall that said, you know, that's the kind of work
he had
that...
a lot of art books. He studied all the art books. He thought some watercolorists were better than others. I mean, I think Winslow Homer certainly...
That's interesting. And there's a lovely one. Where's the perspective right behind you, Alice?
Andrew Wyatt.
I hope you'll take a look at this. This particular one caught my eye right away. It's taken from, am I correct, the church steeple?
Yes.
He went up in a church steeple.
In Sudbury.
In Sudbury, where Babbitt is.
So, you know, when you see it, you look down on the perspective, on the shapes, the triangulation of the roofs, the pitch of the gables, etc. It's really fascinating. And the shadow and light is really excellent in this one. You had a question, I'm sorry.
I did. I'm looking at all these wonderful things, and I'm wondering, did he ever paint or sketch any of the three of you?
No, he didn't do, very few figures. There's one painting here from Ireland that has a man in the front, but, you know, he didn't put a lot of figures in his paintings.
Halloween.
Except for Grammy, right? Grammy.
Yeah.
He would put Grammy in there.
Well, maybe, yeah, occasionally, but he didn't paint it.
He did do, someone told me, I think Becky Kay is left.
Halloween.
Yeah.
Becky Kay would dress up in a costume, who lived next door, and he would, instead of giving them candy, he would sketch them in their costume, and that was their Halloween.
And he did that almost until
What a great tradition. That's terrific.
When I was teaching, he came to my kindergarten class and did caricatures.
Now this is a really great collection, and we're indebted to you, really, for bringing this all together. This pretty much encompasses a lot of the types. This is not the whole body of work, just so everybody knows. But this encompasses pretty much the entire type of work that you do. Okay, that's great. And
we don't have too many from the 1940s.
Okay.
That was when he really started to paint when he was in New York.
Right. And I understand his Christmas cards were treasured by all.
Yes, and I have tons of extra Christmas cards. If anybody wants, I mean, like hundreds of extras of every year. And they're at my place. If anybody wants any, I would be happy to give extras.
You should eventually donate them to the Historical Society.
Yeah, well, I will.
That would be wonderful.
I will.
Because interestingly enough, he never sold anything. And we don't think anything's ever been sold. Unless somebody did, we don't know it. You know, I think it wasn't for...
He did it for enjoyment.
For enjoyment and to share.
And none of these paintings was ever typed. Is that...
No.
Well, he has the name of where it was.
Where it was.
Yeah.
The majority, I mean, we can't tell really unless we ask you, and you'll tell us. Or maybe you'll tell us.
He didn't put them.
Yeah. Very good. Other questions?
Was the watercolor, which is featured at the very end, it looks like an island hub or something. Was that early or late? I'll tell you why I asked.
In the 80s.
Was that, he had done a lot of these other watercolors first? Well, anyway,
It's
I just love
dated.
it. I like it because I think it's very interesting. He's getting more and more abstract. I mean, it works for, I can't see almost a thing from where I sit now. I'm so nearsighted. works perfectly, and then I get up close and it's a whole different thing. So I think that's wonderful. It's a kind of a different presentation.
He painted a lot from slides. He would go on trips and take the slides and then come back. And,
But that's a lovely one, the one next to it too. They're both very abstract compared to most of his work. I love it.
Okay. Oh, one more.
Well, enjoy.
Can you say, each of you say something about your memories of the paintings? The actual process of art as you were growing up and watching your father do.
I can tell you he was very disciplined, because right after breakfast, after he retired, if he wasn't doing something for the town of Buchanan, he was up in his studio on Hackney Road painting, and he would paint from 9 to 1, come home for lunch, and probably often go back in the afternoon and paint. He was pretty disciplined.
Playing with his paints, anything like that?
Nice to have talent.
I remember
and he
him.
encouraged us.
I remember him. I was Bobby's my mother. I remember him. I think it was not here. There's one. He was at our house and he was showing me, and he painted. It was winter, and he was painting this tree. And then he said, "I'll show you how I make snow on top of the limb to make it look like it's just." And he took out a kind of big knife, and he carved away and like sort of brushed away the paper. So he would paint the limb and then scrape off the paint, taking the paper with it, and the paper made it look like, and it was this made this illusion of. I remember him doing it, taking this knife, and he had to be very careful. You have to be very careful. But scrape across the.
And
That was some technique.
and Tim, I think I asked you. He never used oil or acrylics, right?
There's one oil painting.
There is one oil.
I have one oil painting that he did.
Priceless.
Well, I don't know. It's actually of a small church in Roxborough, North Carolina, where he graduated from high school.
All right.
His parents were civic, but they moved a lot. So they had a habit, apparently, of starting little Episcopal churches. And he happens to have painted this church. But he preferred watercolor. And I remember him once saying that he thought what he did best were these pen and ink or brush and ink
Interesting.
sketches.
Okay.
But who's going to argue with that?
Final question. I was lucky to get to know your mother a little bit. And I'm wondering, what kind of influence did she have? Did she just leave him alone to do his thing? I mean, she was so lively, or did she encourage him on anything wonderful? I mean, she must have played a very important role.
I think she just made him very happy.
And she just sort of let him do his thing. That's wonderful. That's wonderful.
Very good. Others? No? Thank you all so much.
Thank you.